The Atlanta Braves are taking on the Miami Marlins in Game 3 of their 4-game series. Here's your 10-minute scouting report for today's game. This is your Braves Today Scouting Report, a production of the Belief Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm Lindsey Crosby. In the next 10 minutes, we're breaking down everything you need to know before first pitch. Today, it's the Braves and the Marlins in the series opener, so let's get into it. Both teams have put out their lineups, and Atlanta's is really, really interesting. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back in the lineup at leadoff, but he's not at designated hitter. He's in right field. He very clearly was able to make the case to Walt Weiss that he felt good enough and they didn't have to worry about the turf and he could play in the field today. Center fielder Michael Harris II moves up to the number 2 spot in the order with Matt Olson batting third and Ozzie Albies at second base batting fourth. Kind of a tough place, again, to have Ozzie the way he's been hitting recently, but they're doing what they can. Dominic Smith is that designated hitter. That's the other advantage to having Ronald in the field is you can get Dom back at DH, and he is batting fifth. They then have Mauricio Dubon at shortstop, not in left field. That's another impact, like side effect you can have of having Ronald Acuna Jr. in the field. They have Mauricio Dubon at shortstop, batting sixth, and then they move third baseman Austin Riley to the 7 spot in the order. We talked about this last night in the recap. He went over 4 with 3 strikeouts. He stranded 7 guys on base. They're moving him down to the order a little bit so he can maybe work his way through it a bit. Left fielder Mike Yastrzemski batting 8th, and then catcher Sandy Leon batting 9th. My assumption here is that Leon's going to be the regular starter. Tromp will get a day game after a night game. Like the kind of the one rest day, a series. We'll see if that's what they plan to do or not. I'm not 100% sure how they're doing this yet, but it's possible that's the way that this works. So again, Acuna, Harris, Olson, Albies, Smith, Dubon, Riley, Yastrzemski, Sandy Leon. I do think you probably could have, I understand why they put Albies at 4 now that the more I think about it. Lefty, switch hitter with Albies. If you put Dom Smith in the 4 hole, you have 3 consecutive lefties. So I guess that's probably why they did it. Still a little frustrating. Would have loved to have seen Dom Smith get a chance to hit cleanup and drive our guys in. On the mound for the Braves, Chris Sale. 6-3, 196 ERA. What is there to say about Chris Sale other than he's been great this year? The 3 losses, though, 2 of those have come in the last 2 games for Sale. Not his fault. He's not been getting run support. There was a grand total of 7 at-bats and 1 hit off of Chris Sale on this Marlins roster. The 1 hit is Christopher Morel. Got an RBI single on April 13th of 2025. So just not a lot of experience in general against Chris Sale and not a lot of success either. Hopefully that works out well. The Marlins lineup, Holy Toledo, they've got a bunch of righties bunched up together. So Xavier Edwards still leads off, switch hitter at second base, followed by shortstop Otto Lopez batting second. Lopez, though, is the start of 6 consecutive right-hand hitters that they're throwing out there against Chris Sale. Otto Lopez at 2, left fielder Heriberto Hernandez batting third, first baseman Connor Norby as the cleanup hitter. Esteury Ruiz in center field batting 5th. Leo Jimenez at third base batting 6th. Then DH Christopher Morel batting 7th. Followed by catcher Liam Hicks. Hicks is a guy, he does catcher, he does first base, he does DH. So they're giving Joe Mack a day off and letting Hicks have a lefty-lefty matchup against Sale. And then right fielder Javier Sanoja batting 9th. In right field. He's a right-handed hitter. So again, it's a switch hitter. It is 6 consecutive righties, then a lefty and another righty. Tells me that they fully expect Chris Sale to go deep into the game. and they're not necessarily worried about, what Atlanta's relievers are going to do, because you got to figure it out against Chris Sale first. The starter for the Marlins is Jansen Junk, right-handed pitcher. He's 2-4 with a 4.14 ERA. Some of the estimators say that he's actually been a little bit unlucky. It's a 3.77 expected ERA and a 4.03 fielding independent pitching. Not striking out a ton of guys. 17.7% strikeout rate, is 22nd percentile in the league. He doesn't get a lot of chase. He's pretty poor at getting whiffs, under 20% whiff rate. And when he gives up contact, he typically gives up hard contact. His average exit velo is over 90 miles an hour. It's in the bottom quartile of the league. But what Jansen Junk does really well is he has a very well-sequenced 6-pitch mix, and he throws strikes. He's not walking a ton of guys. 6.2% walk rate, is 84th percentile in the league. And he gets a ton of ground balls. 80th percentile at 50% ground ball rate. And for starters, I mean, that's a really good walk rate for a starter, because a lot of the best ground ball guys in the league end up being relievers who are kind of the specialist guys there. So yeah, gives up a lot of hard hit balls, but they're usually going to be on the ground. That's why his barrel rate of 6.4% is 63rd percentile. Again, 6-pitch mix, and he's very well sequenced with it. He sits about 94 on the 4-seamer, but he doesn't really overly rely on the 4-seamer. And what's also amazing, he gets all these ground balls despite throwing a sinker just 2% of the time. Typically, when you see a high ground ball guy, you assume it's going to be because he's just spamming sinkers over and over. Not so much with Jansen Junk. The way that here's another thing too. Okay, Miami calls their pitches from the dugout. And so because of that, this might be the most well-sequenced guy in the league. There's not a ton of tendencies to attack here. Against lefties, the only real noticeable tendencies are that Junk likes to steal some strikes early with curveballs, and that he ramps up the 4-seamer usage a little bit, minimizing the curveball usage when there's 2 strikes. Other than that, he's just incredibly well sequenced. He'll throw you almost like he'll kind of stick to the standard arsenal and the standard usage in just about every situation, and he'll mix it up. Righties, another thing of very, very few tendencies to attack here. He does ramp up the slider use a little bit early and backs off a little bit of it with 2 strikes. He does ramp up the 4-seam usage when he's behind in the count a little bit. But for the most part, it's just incredibly well sequenced. And I feel like the Braves have struggled with those very well sequenced kitchen sink guys where you're just unable to sit on any specific pitch, and you just have to hope that you read it well out of the hand because you have no idea what's coming. So fun matchup for Atlanta today, despite his stuff not necessarily being that good. When you look at tendencies when it comes to counts and everything, he's not a huge, but a decent proclivity to throw a first pitch strike, right? He doesn't get behind guys a ton. He's thrown 503 pitches to lefties this season, and not a single one of them has been in a 3-0 count. So he will throw you strikes. He will be in the zone. He's not getting a ton of chase. He's not getting a ton of whiffs. It is entirely on you to go hit the pitches that he is throwing and to somehow elevate them. That's really been the hardest thing here. Not a ton of experience for Atlanta against Jansen Junk. Ronald Acuna's 2 for 3 with 2 singles. Matt Olson's 1 for 2 with an RBI. Mauricio Dubon's 1 for 2 with a double. That's really about it. There's not a lot of experience here, not a lot of success here. When you look at the bullpens, Atlanta's bullpen's in an interesting spot when you just look at the guys who have pitched recently, right? Didier Fuentes, back-to-back. He's likely going to be down today. Dylan Lee, 25 pitches yesterday. They might go to him. He might be down today as well, though. Robert Suarez, Raisel Iglesias, they both threw 17 and 13 pitches yesterday, respectively. Fully expect them to come back today. Again, Dylan Lee's the open question out of that. 25 pitches. We don't know. Tyler Kinley had a back-to-back Sunday and Monday. He had a day off. You would assume he's available. You would hope it would be a lower leverage situation. And then Ronaldo Lopez hasn't pitched in a couple days, so he's likely available. Let's also not forget, Victor Medeiros was called up. Dylan Dodd was brought back off of injury. They're both available as well. Question's going to be, if you have to get some tough lefties out, Dylan Lee is more than likely going to be down. Dylan Dodd has reverse splits. Who do you go to in that situation? That's kind of what I'm watching for today. We'll see what happens with that. The Marlins bullpen is a hot mess. Oh my gosh. Tyler Phillips and John King, who is a lefty, have both had a little bit of rest here. King pitched a back-to-back, got 1 day off. Phillips threw 43 pitches on Sunday. He got 2 days off. Everybody else but closer Pete Fairbanks is in an ugly situation on their pitch counts. Calvin Fauché, I didn't think they'd bring him back after 23 pitches on Monday. They did, and they made him throw 33 pitches last night. So he's at 56 pitches in the last 2 days. I can't imagine they ask him to pitch today. That's managerial malpractice. Lake Bacher is at 39 pitches in the last 2 days. Same thing. You ask him to come back and throw a third straight game. That's managerial malpractice. Some of the other arms have larger workloads. Michael Peterson threw 26 pitches last night. Anthony Bender threw 22. Andrew Nardi threw 20. You can probably bring Bender and Nardi back. Peterson, no clue what they'll do with him. That's kind of in that weird spot. Do you try to hold him out? Do you not? Pete Fairbanks hasn't pitched since Saturday, so he's obviously up. But just not a great place for Miami to be. It's really funny. Atlanta's pitching in their 9th game in 9 days, and their bullpen is in so much of a better spot than Miami's bullpen right now. We've already gone over 10 minutes. I've been doing that a lot recently, but I guess the last couple things to think about here. Again, Braves have struggled with those well-sequenced guys. Let's see what they do. The Marlins really need length out of Jansen Junk. Again, this bullpen is incredibly overworked. This bullpen's incredibly just worn out right now. They need him to go deeper in this game. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's what they need. If you look at what Junk has done this month, 5 2/3 the last time out, 7 runs allowed to Tampa Bay. Before that, it was 6 innings against Washington, 5 1/3 against Philly. He hasn't gone in, he hasn't pitched and gotten an out in the 7th inning since April 6th. So I'm assuming maybe the goal for them is 6 innings. Either way, they really need length out of him because his bullpen has been obliterated in the last couple of days with the short starts they've gotten. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel has this as a 1.5 favorite for Atlanta and an over-under of just 7 runs. So they think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I imagine they probably have Atlanta. They're thinking Atlanta is going to be able to handle Miami. I almost said handily, but that's not the right way to word that. But that the Braves are going to easily take care of business because it's a Chris Sale game. And you've got to give him the run support after the last 2 games that you have not won despite Sale pitching well. That's the Braves Today scouting report. If you want the deeper analysis, the lineup breakdowns, and everything behind the numbers, make sure you are subscribed to Braves Today. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it with the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta. And today's 3 things are game recap over at bravestoday.com.